Kennedy getting out. What does Cornel West say? The future of third parties, all of that kind of thing. Dr. West, political activist, former professor of philosophy at Harvard and so many other places, joins us now. I wonder what you think of George Will just saying people like you, third-party candidates, they're kind of like wasps. They sting in the campaign, and then the campaign dies. We know Kennedy's out. What about yourself?
Well, my dear brother George, though, he understands that third parties are often tied to social movements, so that Black freedom movements, woman freedom movements, workers freedom movements, movements that have a moral compass and a deep, deep ethical concern. That sting is like Socrates stinging in the Meno. That is to say, it gets people to think critically. It gets people to have a sense of complexity and gets people to have a sense of empathy, given the depths of suffering that are often rendered invisible by two-party systems. And of course, that's my deep concern. We saw the Democratic Party just the last few days, my brother, not one word about genocide, not one word about mass incarceration, not one serious word about poverty.
Well, they're going the other way, Dr. West, right? They're going the other way. They're going what they see as the middle, the moderate middle. They think that's how they win. They're trying to win the election, so they're heading away from the progressive left. It's obviously on purpose. So what do you think?
You're absolutely right, but you can't talk about genocide, mass incarceration, poverty, and wealth inequality solely in an electoral way. If you don't have any moral passion behind it, then you're going to end up just reproducing the same structures that make it possible for the fascists like Trump or those military adventurers.
I think one of the issues in a swing state like Pennsylvania is a lot of swing voters, they don't see it the same way you do, right? They don't see it as a genocide. They wouldn't define what's happening in Gaza that way. They have a different point of view, and the Democrats want those voters. They want those voters.
No,
they're not just running to make a point. They're trying to win, right?
That's exactly right. And fellow citizens have a right to think critically for themselves and come down where they do. But somebody, some of us, has to stand up and say, this is a crime against humanity. Not just the genocide, but the wealth inequality and the mass incarceration and the poverty and so forth. 62% of those fellow citizens wrestle with paycheck to paycheck. That's a lot of people, my dear brother.
Right. I know it's tough for you guys, I mean by, Kennedy, yourself, whoever runs as not in the two-party system to get on ballots, right? So Kennedy talked about that, making his points about this party, Democratic Party's changed from when his dad was there and his uncle. We have a map of your ballot access fights. We can put it up for a moment. You'll see. You're not on, like the blue is pending state certification, technically. I always thought of you and Michigan in here. I don't think you're getting on in Michigan, right, from what I was reading. You're not,
we're in process there. We've got,
you think you might?
So many legal suits against us. We've got so many lawyers coming against
us. But you're not on in a lot of those places where you could make an impact. I mean, the idea, it doesn't seem like there's going to be much impact. And Kennedy said he would get out if he thought he would just be a spoiler. Isn't that all you are as well? Or?
Well, no, we got North Carolina, but it's not just about spoiling, no, brother. It's about bearing witness as well. But North Carolina, of course, we've had a historic victory there. We had tremendous legal power coming against us. Arizona, we're still on the move there. So, but what Kennedy said about the corruption of the two-party system is absolutely right. It's ironic that he decides to join the fascist wing of that. But I think Kennedy does have a genuine concern about children. I do want to acknowledge that. I think he's got deeply distorted perceptions, and I think he's got some unscientific conclusions, but I think he's got a certain moral passion about children. But to join, the fascists under those conditions just strikes me as just beyond comprehension. But of course, his relative enabling of the genocide in Gaza is something that I bring serious critique to bear on as well. But we are in a mess, my brother, and the plot thickens.
What do you think's happening next? I mean, the thing is, you'll stay, you say. What if you, and again, we were just talking about it with George Will, that some of these states, it just doesn't take much. I think I've asked you this before, but like North Carolina, you mentioned it. Say you took a little bit away from Harris. She's been polling much better there. I assume your voters, many of them, their second choice would probably be Harris, not Trump, right? You're a progressive guy. What if you made the difference and Trump won North Carolina instead of Harris? And that would be spoiling.
Well, I mean, one is that, as you know, so many of our voters actually would never vote for a member of either Republican or the Democratic Party.
Probably not. They just wouldn't vote at all.
Exactly. They just stay home and watch it, become spectators and bystanders. That's not good for a democratic system, even as it undergoes deeper corruption and deeper corrosion. But and again, though, You run in part because you want to bear witness to a cause. You want a certain moral awakening. You want a political reckoning, and it's long term as well as short term. And in short term, you don't want to generate the unintentional consequence of a fascist like Trump. But on the other hand, we are where we are at this moment, and American citizens make their choices, my brother.
I know. We've had so many interesting conversations with you and so many others try to get all angles, and we appreciate you coming back, Dr. West, again today.
You've always been so kind. I appreciate you, though, brother.
All right.